Good day. This is Interview of the Day. My name is Galia Hasanhanova, and today we're talking to Hungarian Foreign Minister Péter Szijjarto.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for this invitation.
Good afternoon. Mr. Szijjarto, this year Kazakhstan and Hungary are celebrating 30 years of diplomatic relations. Can you characterize the cooperation of these years?
Well, actually, it's easy for me because we have signed an agreement back in 2014, which is called the Strategic Partnership Declaration. So if you want me to characterize or describe this relationship in the short term, then I would say it's strategic. We really do attach a great significance to our cooperation. We do consider the role of Kazakhstan as extremely important from regional and the global security perspective. You know, currently there's a war in our neighborhood in Ukraine. So for us, the significance of countries who can contribute to stability of their own regions is extremely important, because what we definitely don't need now is a security-related conflict in this neighborhood to Europe. It's far enough for us to be faced with the security hazard put on Hungary because of the war in Ukraine. So when it comes to Kazakhstan, we really appreciate and respect its efforts against the spread of terror, against the spread of extremist ideologies, against illegal migration and smuggling as well. So this is a strategic relationship, this is a friendship, and we have took a lot of profit out of that relationship already.
And over these years, the country signed a number of agreements on joint projects between the two countries. Can you name the most significant or successful ones?
Yeah, actually, the biggest Hungarian investment in Kazakhstan is owned by the biggest Hungarian company, which is an energy company that deals with mostly oil and gas exploitation and distribution, MOL. MOL is the technical leader of a Kazakh, Chinese, Hungarian joint venture, which owns the right of research and exploitation of gas from the field called Fedorovsky. The 5 wells through which the gas should be exploited have been completed. They are there. Final investment decision has been made. The development plan of the field has been put together and submitted to your government. If your government approves, then the exploitation of the gas from the Fedorovsky field will begin next year, 2023. On the other hand, one of the other biggest Hungarian companies, called the Hungarian Electricity Company, has been involved in 2 projects while constructing power plants here in Kazakhstan, and this company provides the cooling systems for these power plants. We used to have, and hopefully will have, a good cooperation in the field of civic aviation as well. Namely, Wizz Air, a Hungarian airline, has been or had been operating a flight between Astana and sorry, I made a mistake. Nur Sultan, and because I think about it, it's Almaty or Nur Sultan, but it's Nur Sultan and Budapest. And unfortunately, this flight had to be terminated for a while because of the war in Ukraine. You know, using Ukrainian airspace is forbidden. Because of the sanctions, using Russian airspace for European carriers is forbidden. So their aircrafts cannot fly that distance, which is now between Nur Sultan and Budapest. Unfortunately, currently it's not straightforward because of the restrictions. But as soon as this situation is going to be resolved, the airline will restart the flight, of course. And an important future project is going to be our cooperation regarding the nuclear training and education. You know, nuclear energy plays an important role in Hungary's national energy mix. Currently we have 4 reactors of nuclear power plant. We are now preparing the construction of 2 additional ones, 2 big ones, 1,200 megawatts each. And since we have been using nuclear for the last 40 years, we have a great experience and structure when it comes to education and training on that field, and we understand that you would like to put some emphasis on that in the future as well. So a cooperation on this field will be very important. We are finalizing the document currently based on which this cooperation will be launched, and maybe the visit of your president to Budapest, which is due to the second half of this year, will provide us a good platform to sign this agreement and to start the cooperation.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, that's opinion I do share.
Yes, in the financial sector, the Hungarian Exim Bank is represented at our Astana International Financial Center. Do any other financial and banking institutions of Hungary plan to cooperate with Kazakhstan, Kazakh banks?
Yeah, absolutely. Hungarian Exim Bank is not only present in the Astana International Financial Center, but they have opened a credit line of 175 million euros in order to finance business-to-business cooperation between Kazakh and Hungarian businesses, companies. So if a Kazakh and Hungarian company would like to work together, then the financial background is going to be provided or has already been provided by the Hungarian Exim Bank. On the other hand, yes, there are other Hungarian financial companies thinking about this opportunity. I'm pretty sure that if there was no war, we would see now more companies being present, because the war has a negative impact on the status of global economy. Unfortunately, we have to understand that, and with that, especially the financial sector or the stakeholders in the financial sector are becoming more and more careful. So they are not flexible enough to make such kind of decisions to move abroad easily. But I really do hope that once the war is over, the braveness of these companies will also return.
Yes, we will hope for better in the future. Let's talk about the education. The Hungarian government allocates 250 grants for Kazakh citizens under Stipendium Hungarikum program for Kazakh citizens to go to Hungarian universities. Does this number plan to be increased? And also another question also on education. President Tokayev recently has instructed to bring foreign universities to Kazakhstan to open their branches here. Do any universities in Hungary plan on this? Would any university be a good fit here?
Yeah, Hungary provides 250 scholarships for Kazakh students on an annual basis on Hungarian universities. You said the number rightly, and we consider this higher education cooperation as extremely important. And your question whether to raise this number is very legitimate, putting into consideration the very high number of Kazakh students who usually submit applications. On an annual basis, last year there was more than 1,400. So in case the Kazakh side thinks it's appropriate, we are ready to increase that number. We are happy to have Hungarian lecture on one of your universities, a Hungarian point also, and we will continue the cooperation in this regard. And it would be really great if a Hungarian university could open a campus, a branch here. There are some who are looking forward to build some presence in Central Asia, let's put it this way, because we consider this region of the world as an emerging part. So if we invest into the relationship now, that should pay off in the future.
That's wonderful. Let's hope more and more of them come here.
Yeah, right.
And on the last note, let's go back to the question of the war. Ukraine is your neighbor, so a lot of Ukrainians fleeing to your country, crossing your borders, more than 600,000 of them already crossed your borders. How are you managing, how is the country managing this flow? How are you supporting these refugees, and how do you accommodate such a big number?
Well, first of all, it's terrible that we are approaching the end of the first quarter of the 21st century, and we have a war in Europe. Even more than that, we have sieges in Europe. That's really terrible, and we really consider it as an obligation of ours to help those who have to flee from the war. We are a neighboring country to Ukraine, so these people have a right to come here and to Hungary, and where would they go if not to the neighbors, right? So the number of refugees who have already entered territory of Hungary, either directly from Ukraine or through Romania, approaches 700,000. And of course, we receive all of them. We allow them to come to the country. a big number of them just stays for a couple of days. Of course, we provide them with shelter, accommodation, food, and all necessary information. And in case they move on, we help them. Because, you know, a lot of them would like to go to see friends or relatives in other parts of Europe, mostly western part of Europe, southern part of Europe, or some of them are moving to Poland, Czech Republic, where the language is more, let's say, similar to theirs. In our case, Ukrainian and Hungarian language have nothing to do with each other. So there's some language barrier, definitely. But those who would like to stay are absolutely welcome. We provide them with job offers. Because we have put a lot of emphasis in Hungary to build a so-called workfare society where we provide jobs for the people. It makes sense to work. Tax rates are low, so it makes sense to work instead of, you know, waiting for the aid at the beginning or end of every week or month. And I think for refugees, even better to work and earn money, you know, get back dignity and come back to kind of normality of life, right, as much as it is possible under these circumstances. But we give cash incentive to the employers in order to employ refugees, and this cash incentive should cover the accommodation cost for the refugees. So we are dealing with a situation. I wouldn't say it's respected too much in Europe or in Ukraine, given the fact that we have made another decision based on our national interest that we do not deliver weaponry to Ukraine, and we do not allow the weapon transit through Hungary, simply because for us, keeping the security of Hungary and Hungarian people is the most important duty. And we don't want to put the security of our country at risk. And that's why we are not delivering weaponry, and this is not very much liked by our partners, you can imagine. But we made it clear that for us, the national security of Hungary comes first. But of course, we are continuing our humanitarian actions to help the Ukrainians. This is the biggest, the greatest humanitarian aid action of Hungary ever. Our delivered donation to Ukraine has exceeded now 1,000 tons when it comes to food, when it comes to baby stuff, clothing, and all this kind of stuff.
Well, this is very commendable. Thank you very much.